Well, Eddie, promoted many a show around the world, but our first down under here in Australia. How excited are you for Saturday's show here in Brisbane?
So exciting, you know, there's a real buzz around about Matchroom coming to Australia in general. Great fight card as well, great main event, 2 unbeaten Australian fighters, and a new era for us here. You know, it's only my second time even in Australia, and there's a very vibrant fight scene here, some great talent as well, a number of Australian world champions now, not just on our roster, but in general. I'm really excited to start our journey here in Australia.
There can't be too many cards in boxing history that every fight on the card is a title fight. And I guess in a way that kind of shows that the local talent here just want to get slung in and prove and develop, I guess.
Yeah, I think people feel like it's a big opportunity to be seen globally with Matchroom and DAZN. And also, you know, these young undefeated fighters willing to step up. I mean, you know, like you say, of course, you've got the Liam Paro, Brock Jarvis, and you've got the Demsey, McKean and Skye Nicholson. But beneath that, you've got 4 brilliant fighters, you know, all with undefeated fighters willing to put it on their line to sort of break out and become a star, if you like. So it's really refreshing to come and see these undefeated young fighters willing to jump in and take on these challenges and no fear in trying to break out and make a name for himself.
And not only a belt on the line, but potential to sign with Matchroom. Are you on a recruitment drive? Should they impress on Saturday night?
Yeah, we want to build a great stable. I mean, already we've got, you know, some fantastic Australian talent, but we're always on the lookout for emerging talent. I mean, you know, in the Tapia Mayweather fight, it's a fantastic fight, but even underneath that, you know, you've got Rhys Evans, who's making his professional debut over 8 rounds against 9-0 Jalen Tate. I mean, it's madness, really, but, you know, at the same time, it's refreshing to see guys not afraid to lose their own and some trying to be great and move on and be part of Matchroom cards around the world. Steve Spark, you know, coming up fighting Montana Love. Obviously, Ebony Bridges won world titles in the UK. A lot of Australian fighters are looking to fight internationally, but hopefully with our shows that we're building here, they won't necessarily need to.
We'll touch on a few of those guys in a minute, but let's start at the top, the main event, Liam Paro versus Brock Jarvis. Maybe a fight Liam Paro didn't need to take. Is that fair to say, with where he's sitting pretty in the WBO rankings?
I think that's a fair statement. I mean, look, he's number 1, number 2 in the world now. He's got his shot coming up at the world title, but he also wants to make a name for himself in Australia, really, and be part of a big all-Australian fight. This is a brilliant fight, 22-0 against 20-0. You know, Brock Jarvis, absolute tank, looks like he should be on a GQ cover, and also an incredible Hulk. You know, tutored by, of course, Jeff Fennick, one of the great Australian fighters of all time. And there's a lot on the line, really, for Liam Paro. He doesn't need to be taking this fight, but it's a brilliant fight. You know, it's the kind of fight we need to make here, that all-Australian tussle. And you know, you have to fancy Liam Paro because of his pedigree, but I think Brock Jarvis is going to be a real problem in this fight.
I saw a stat the other day. This is Brock Jarvis's 8th weight category since he turned pro about 7 years ago. Do you think he'll sort of build into a fully fledged 140?
I do. You know, he's still young, but he's huge. You know, he's an absolute tank. And when I saw him fight at super feather and previously feather and lower than that, you know, you could tell when he boxed in Fresno, he was struggling to make the weight. And you know, it's going to be really interesting to see how he adapts to 140 pounds. But I actually think it will suit him. I think he'll be more robust. I think, you know, he has a great engine anyway. And I really think he's going to put the pressure on Liam Paro on Saturday.
Just touching on that fight in Fresno, which was pretty much a year ago to the day, I believe, showed a little bit of vulnerability, but showed grit and determination and dug deep that night.
It was incredible because, you know, he looked like he was out of the fight. It was a disaster. He came in gung-ho, chin in the air, got caught, but showed tremendous heart to come through that and go on and stop his opponent. So we know that Brock Jarvis has got plenty of heart. We know he's all action. We know he can punch. Probably was a little bit vulnerable down at those weights because of the weight cut, but, you know, moving up, I think could give him just that little bit more, as I said, robustness. And if he comes with that same energy and that same relentless pressure, it could be a real problem.
And Liam goes in as the bookie's favourite. Should he come through, I guess he'll be waiting for the winner of Catchup and Taylor, which we think will happen in the forthcoming months. Is that the route he's looking to go down?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I expect if Josh Taylor wins that, I do expect him to vacate and move up. And it could be Liam Paro against Teofimo Lopez or even Brock Jarvis against Teofimo Lopez. So massive fight, and I think the winner will go on and fight for a world title.
Demsey McKean looks to move 22-0 this Saturday. This kind of feels like the last hurdle before he's thrown into a big fight. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, look, Dempsey's top 15 with 2 governing bodies. He's in the conversation. He was in the conversation to fight Dillian Whyte. You know, he could be in the conversation to fight Anthony Joshua. So really, he's got to look good against Corte. You know, Corte, I think he's 19-1, good fighter. But Dempsey's got to go out and make a statement to get those big fights. You know, he's a big, strong, hard-hitting heavyweight southpaw that really, with his positioning with the governing body, should be going out and really becoming now a problem for those guys, but also in the conversation to fight those guys. I think if he can look good on Saturday, he'll land himself a big fight in early 2023.
Yeah, that's going to be my next question about looking good, because he kind of went through the motions last time against Bracamonte, and he himself has said, there's negotiations going on in the background. Is that still ongoing now, or is it sort of paused?
As I said, there's been a lot of conversations, particularly with Dillian Whyte fighting Demsey McKean, and when you're top 15 with 2 governing bodies, you're going to be in those conversations. If you can look good, if you can start calling those names out on the back of a good performance, there's every chance he could get them.
And a first title fight for Skye Nicholson at home. Obviously, big pressure on her, I guess, coming back to showcase her skills in front of her home fans. I guess from your perspective, you're looking for Skye to look dominant in that.
Yeah, I think she's a big star here already. She's boxed obviously in the US twice. She's boxed in the UK twice, and now she returns home for her first title fight. So she's been guided perfectly so far. You're seeing the transition. You're seeing it on social media. The way she's sitting down on a shot, she looks like she's improved physically. And I think if she can put that into action and mix that with her style, which is a style that rarely gets hit, I think she's going to be a real problem for the division. I think to capture the Commonwealth title as a professional after winning Commonwealth gold as an amateur in Queensland as well would be special. And I think she wants to move quickly. I really believe that she's already talking about Amanda Serrano and of course Erica Cruz, who's our champion at featherweight. She's probably only 2-3 fights max away from that, really. I know that Eddie Lamb and the team at iBox are really talking highly about the sparring and how she's looked in the gym. And I think if she can make a statement on Saturday and be really dominant, then 2023 is going to bring World Championship fights quite quickly for Skye Nicholson. I think she's a tremendous fighter. She's got a great boxing IQ. Like I said, if she's sitting down on shots and she's knocking people out as well, then she's going to be a real problem for the division. I think you're going to see her win world titles soon. She's
been very active since she's turned professional. Is the plan to be as active next year, or do you think maybe she needs a bit of a breather and take a step back?
Well, she had a good break in the summer, but it's difficult to be active when you're in 10-round championship fights all the time. But she's used to being active as an amateur. I think she'll have one more if she's victorious on Saturday, which we expect her to be, one more in December, and then really it's one early in 2023 or straight into a world title fight. She's already talked about wanting that Amanda Serrano fight. Serrano's a great fighter, but that's the aspirations of Skye Nicholson. And as I said, Erica Cruz as well. She could fight Erica Cruz, and the winner of that fight's for undisputed straight away. So massive future ahead. Her profile has gone through the roof globally. She's a star in the making. She's just got to put it together in the ring, which she has been doing. But this is upper level 10-round championship fight, and if she can make a statement on Saturday, the world awaits.
First fight here in Australia. Do we have a certain number of fights lined up for next year? What's the sort of plan moving forward?
I think we're talking about 4 to 6 shows a year here in Australia. So it'd be nice to see Skye Nicholson come back and fight for the World Championship, as maybe Liam Paro fight for the World Championship as well. Maybe we do AJ against Demsey McKean here, etc. So looking to bring consistent fight nights to Australia and some big stadium shows too.
One fight fans maybe a little bit bemused that is not in Australia is Ebony Bridges against O'Connell for the world title, which obviously lands in Leeds. I think Ebony herself has said she's based in the UK now, and that's pretty much the reason why she wanted to fight in the UK. Obviously, we won the purse bids. I guess moving forward, if Ebony is obviously a possibility to come back out here and defend as well.
Yeah, I think Ebony's become a huge star in the UK. So, for us, we want to do that fight in the UK. We see the attraction, of course, of doing that in Australia as well. But she's training in the UK. She's based in the UK, and we wanted to give her what is ultimately now home advantage and make O'Connell travel. It's a great fight. Bad blood, it's got everything. So it's going to be a big fight in Australia, but it will end in Leeds on December 10th.
Let's just take a step back. Obviously, last Saturday in the UK, we were scheduled for the O2, which obviously didn't go through for obvious reasons. A couple of days on now from when that fight was due to happen. Can you give us any update on Conor Benn's situation?
Yeah, obviously he's got a big fight on his hands. There's a lot of information we know about the testing that will come to light. Everyone's very quick to make their assumptions, as always in this situation. We've seen it before with Dillian Whyte, and I didn't see many people apologise when Dillian Whyte was cleared of all charges and was actually completely innocent in that situation. Conor Benn will have the right to clear his name. People should let him do that. It's been a difficult situation for everybody. It was a difficult situation building in. I've seen the criticism, of course, but also understand that this wasn't something that was kept from anybody. It was discussed between all parties involved in the fight, from the fighters to the promoters to the commission, and we have to let the commission do their job. which ultimately they did. And it wasn't a case of, you know, the story stopped the fight. The commission had made their decision before any story came out in the media, and we had to go through that process because, as I said, once you find out the information regarding the testing, it was a difficult position because people were comfortable with the scientific facts around that. So we wanted Conor Benn to have his opportunity, as many have before, to be heard. That will now happen post-fight, and obviously the fight not taking place. But let him have that time, let him have that moment. He has to go out, and obviously it's a very important time for him now because some people have made their mind up as they've done before. Let the facts come out and make your decision.
Let's look further ahead now to the Matchroom schedule. So 2 weeks time, we're back in Mexico. Mauricio Lara headlines against San Martin. Obviously the Lee Wood fight is not going through. Just talk to us for a victory for Mauricio. Is he looking to get that fight rescheduled?
Yeah, he's frustrated. I mean, we all are, because Lee Wood against Mauricio Lara is a tremendous fight. And as is Lara against San Martin, I expect that to be a war. So we finish here. Obviously we'll see what happens with the Santa Cruz situation with Lee Wood, and Josh Warrington's got a win on December 10th. There's a lot in play for us in the featherweight division. We leave Brisbane to go to Mexico City for that show, of course. Then we go back to Wembley Arena for the return of Katie Taylor, Jordan Gill against Martinez, Ellie Scottney added to that card.
And the Irish on the undercard
as well. Of course,
yeah.
Kevin Adjarko, Gary Cully. It's a tremendous card at Wembley. And then, of course, to Abu Dhabi for a massive night of boxing headlined by Bivol against Ramirez. Then we're in Cleveland, Ohio for Montana Love against Steve Spark. And then back potentially for the return of Dillian White at the end of November. December 3rd, Estrada Chocolatito 3. And then December 10th, tremendous main event for Josh Warrington. Very tough fight against Lopez, he's mandatory, and a big end to the year.
Let's just talk about December 3. Obviously the Joshua Fury fight's not happening. It sounds as if Derek Chisora's got the call up for a trilogy fight.
Yeah.
Can you just talk to us about that? Are we involved at all? What's the
I
latest?
spoke to him last night. I mean, he's had it's probably been going on for 2 or 3 weeks now, the conversations. I mean, I know we had our deadline that was 2 weeks ago. Not sure why Chisora's is 3 weeks longer, but I think Derek's just in the final negotiations of that fight now. I think the fight will happen. You know, I don't know the other options for Tyson Fury. I know Manuel Charr is a fight that he wanted to push for, so I think they'll feel that, you know, Chisora is obviously a bigger name. It'll be the third fight between them. Del Boy always fancies it, so he's ready to step up and take that fight, and I guess we'll see if they can close final negotiations over the next couple of days.
In touch on Josh Warrington on December 10th. Is that likely to be our last show of the year, do you think?
Yeah, we could go December 17th. Obviously we've got to decide if Anthony Joshua will go on that date or if he'll wait till January or February, but ultimately Josh Warrington December 10, and then it might be Christmas for us then, but don't rule out December 17.
And I guess you're already busy planning 2023?
Absolutely, and an early start in January with some big fights all around the globe, but big fights in America to start in January, and obviously the UK as well, and keep an eye particularly on that featherweight division. If Josh Warrington can come through on December 10, expect to see him against Lee Wood in a big unification.
Well, Eddie, thanks for your time, and I'm sure we'll catch up as the week goes on.
Cheers.